Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we are joined by a very special guest. He is a life calling coach, Mr. Thomas Carney. How you doing today, Thomas?
I'm doing great, Ryan. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. And man, I'll be honest, this is the third podcast I've been on.
Really? Yeah, I watched one of them that you did. That's probably about a couple months ago, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I want to thank you for letting me be on the show to provide a platform where I can speak into people's lives about overcoming. What we're going to be talking about is overcoming adversity, right? We talking about what it's like to live a life in circumstances that are outside of your control. And how do you pursue the calling that God's put on your life with a passion and without worrying about those circumstances? Not while ignoring them, but without worrying about them.
Yeah. I mean, I love your story too, and I kind of want to dive into that a little bit and let the audience know, who is Thomas Carney?
For sure. Yeah, I am, like you said, I'm a calling coach or a life calling coach. I have a full-time job as a web and mobile app developer. I've done that for about 8 years. It took a bit of time for me to realize, like, maybe it's like 2 years into my job. So not a lot of time, where I sat there and I was thinking around, looking around. I was like, man, is this it? Is this all that really life is? Like, I did everything that society told me to do. I went to college. I went to college, got a job. And I was like, that was it. That was where it kind of stopped. I was like, oh, okay, well, what do I do now? I guess they just keep trying to climb up the ladder. But I was like, is this it? So that's whenever I started thinking, like, maybe I could do a business, and I started different ideas. And along that path, like I said, I want to talk to people around circumstances that are outside of their control. That's I believe my part of my calling as a follower of Christ, as a child of God. I believe that God has called me to, just like He calls everyone, to help those who are less fortunate. And personally, I live with chronic pain every day of my life. That's my circumstance that is outside of my control. So I'm not saying that I don't want to think. Don't want you to think I'm saying that out of, like, without experience. Originally, I did want to be a coach, but it wasn't until I lived my life with this condition called muscular dystonia for the last 5 years that I really started to think, like, what if I could help those who are struggling to help themselves? What if I could help those who feel stuck in their life, know that God has a calling on their life, but think their circumstances count them out from what they believe, for what they wanted to do before their condition struck? So that's who I say I am. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a person who is called to serve those who are in circumstances that suck.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hit on it, like, you want to help people find their purpose. I mean, I've kind of realized you find your true purpose in your own pain. So, like, when did you kind of realize that your pain and everything you were dealing with was kind of leading you more towards your purpose and away from what you were actually doing as a job?
It was gradual. It wasn't like a snap or like a flip of the switch. It was struggle. It was pain, obviously, but it was mental and physical. It was the fact that I already had a foundation set in personal development and growth before my condition hit. That, I think, God was lined me up because He obviously knew it was going to happen. And So he was I believe he was preparing me for the life I was going to live. And without that foundation, I was going to have to get it anyway. But but as I had to grow in a different way, where I was suffering every day, not worried about like the unknown, because I didn't know what my condition was for the longest time. And I didn't have a name for it. I just knew I was in pain and that I had to stop working out, because doing curls, like my forearm would like get hard as a rock. And like I couldn't, and like that was excruciating, and I had to stop. And it was over the years that I started to understand that if God left me in this, if God is leaving me here, then he has a good reason for it, because he is a good God. And I truly believe that. So I started to think, how can this be used in order to not just benefit myself, but benefit others? How can God use this part of my life as a tool to help build other people's lives? And I have another story I want to share, but I'll stop there for now.
I love how you kind of talked about like how God kind of brought you through, but he didn't heal you. Why do you think so many people give up when God says no and he doesn't heal them of their pain, and they kind of give up on their faith and kind of go in a different direction?
I'm gonna be careful with this one. I'll first start off by saying I was almost one of those people.
I think we all do at times when we don't get our way.
Yeah. I've been prayed over hundreds of times. I've been prayed for more times than I can count, more times than I know about, for healing by people. I know by people I don't even know. And I'm still here. I'm still in this condition, and God has not taken me out of it. And like, if I believe that God is a good God, what does that mean? Well, like I said before, it means that God has a good reason for it. But for the people who you asked, for the people who leave the faith,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to make a blanket statement and say why every single person out there would leave, but I can say that the reason I almost left, no, I don't say I almost left, I shouldn't say that. The reason I knew I was in a position where there's two roads in front of me, whether I was either going to go closer to God or further away from him, and that was dependent on me. It was dependent on it was dependent on it was dependent on who I saw God to be. And I believe that God was a God. But if people start to believe, after you get healed, you start to believe that maybe my pain is my purpose. Maybe I don't know why God would do this to me. I'm not a bad person. Why would God do this to me? And I think that's when you start getting down the slippery slope, down to maybe, and this is a assumption, but you get down that slippery slope that maybe if God, it was a good God, why would this happen to me? Who I'm not a bad person, and maybe that is what causes people to fall away, because the people pray over them for healing, I got more actually. There's something else. People pray over them for healing and they didn't get healed. But I think another thing, it has nothing to do with, and maybe has nothing to do with them themselves. It has to do with the people around them. It's who they're surrounding themselves with. There's people out there, I've experienced it, where other Christians, other people I'll say self-proclaimed Christians, will tell you you're not healed because you don't have enough faith. There's people that will tell you you're not healed because you don't want it. Those are two examples right from my life. And I wouldn't blame somebody for being like, man, these Christians are like, this isn't what I thought Christianity to be, and this is what it is. I don't want it. I can understand that. That would be a valid human response. But I'm saying, if there's anybody out there that is struggling and has heard those questions before, those phrases that I just used have no place in the kingdom. What God has these things in our lives to grow us, to build us, to put it like this podcast called Through the Fire. And that's what going through this adversity is. And sometimes God does heal people, and sometimes he doesn't. And it's because he's a good God and he knows what's best. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And then you kind of touch on it right there and you kind of look at it like, what if he was heal you? You could have walked away too because you got healed.
It's true.
Think about how many people do that. Like, so maybe he was actually maybe just testing your faith a little bit more. It's like, hey, you say you love me no matter what. What if I just leave you in the situation and say, hey, come follow me still?
I think that's definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you made me think of Job.
Yeah. Like that. Like you look at a lot of the other healings that Jesus had, like where he'd heal like people with diseases, and someone wouldn't even praise him. They just walk away healed and say, see you bye. And why others praised him and followed.
Yep.
It's, you got both sides right there.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Some people treat God as a genie.
Yeah.
And like, hey, God will, like, if you pray for it and it's aligned with scripture, like sometimes he'll give you exactly what you're asking for. And some people will take that and run with it, and sometimes they'll run away with it.
Yeah. What types of coaching services do you provide?
Yeah. So I coach, like I said, I like to coach those who are in know that there's more in their lives, know that God is calling them to more. Maybe they already know what that more is, and they're looking for a vehicle to get to where they want to get, from where they are to where they want to be faster. Or they're stuck and they don't know where they want to go. They know that they have a vision of a future in their heads. They have this vision of a future that they would love to have, but they don't know how they're going to get there. Right? God's calling them to do. And so the services that I provide strictly it's called coaching. I'm a Maxwell certified coach. Not that that means much to a lot of people, but not that it's not a big deal, but besides the certification, what this is one week. Oh, sorry. Coaching once a week to have a thought-provoking conversation about where you are this week and where you want to be next week, and we just keep chipping away from where you are to where you want to be. And there's bigger conversations and smaller conversations, but yeah, that's it's interesting talking about the services, but what is way more important than the service is the result that these services provide. It's helping you give you an actionable plan that you can take from the session, that each session you'll leave with an actionable set of things to do for the following week that you can actually do. Because the point of it is that you come up with these actions yourself. And all my job as a coach is just to be a thought facilitator. It's to be able to take these thoughts you're already having and help you figure out how they actually make sense, so you can achieve the goals that you believe God's put on your life. So like, if any service that's out there, what's way more important than any service is always the result it provides. It's the vision. It's the vision of what your life could be. And one thing I like that I hear a lot of coaches say, that this is from Valerie Burton, when I'm going through my training recently, and she's like, you don't actually need a coach. And like, this is coming from a coach. You don't actually need a coach. What coaching does is get you from where you are to where you want to be faster.
Yeah.
It takes that length of time and it shrinks it.
Yeah, and they help you avoid your blind spots, because a lot of them have already been through what you're going through.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's every coach I've hired and talked to help streamline my process faster and help me avoid some of them spots where they got stuck at.
For sure.
I mean, that's why coaching is so invaluable at times. Like even mentorship with people that when you don't have to hire a coach, like it's just like in a corporate world where you go find a mentor and let them kind of groom you for another position.
Yeah.
What's probably the biggest challenge you'd say your clients face?
Biggest challenge my clients face is knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's always big. I had a client where every session she say, like, I don't think we're gonna have enough to talk about for this next 30 minutes. Because the sessions aren't, they're only 30 minutes. And she's like, I don't think we have enough to talk about. I don't really do much. I don't really know what I'm going to do. And we always fill it out, and sometimes we run over.
Yeah.
And it's because the job as a coach is to help you figure out the next steps.
Yeah.
That's always the biggest problem.
Yeah, you kind of hit right there. I mean, that's why people need coaching, because you can't figure out that next step. You get stuck. Yep. It's getting that stuck part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I found with this particular person, and I have permission to share their story. I have their testimony out on my website. She was writing a children's book, and it was just an idea before she started coaching. It was just a thought. And she put it on her intake form. That's one thing that she's been wanting to do for the longest time. But at the end of 3 months, she had her first draft.
Nice.
And like, a first draft, she had a partner that she was working with, that she met at her work. So it's like, oh, they wanted to do the exact same thing. And what that took was having somebody that can facilitate the thoughts that she was having and help and provoke new thoughts in her that she didn't know she was even possible of having. Like the ideas, these actions, like she created them all herself. I gave her some tools to help her kind of organize some stuff, but I didn't write that book for her. She did that herself. I believe she would have done it one day, but she did it in 3 months relative to however many years it would have taken otherwise.
Well, I think you probably held her a little bit accountable too. That's the big one right there. The accountability part is why you really need coaches, because they're going to hold you accountable and hold your feet to the fire and make you go through it. Because if not, you're just wasting your money on somebody.
Yeah, no, like that's the great part of coaching. It's like, and this is like like it's not talked about in the session. It's not talked about like as part of one of the quote unquote selling points, I guess you'd say. But the accountability, it's not just saying like, oh, like me coming to you me talking to you, the client, and asking what you did last week, because that's part of it, but it's also the anticipation of a client knowing that they're going to be talking about what they did that week to their coach next week, the coach that they're paying.
Yeah.
Like there's the anticipation of wanting to provide accomplishments for the next week. So like, okay, in order to get accomplishments, you got to take action.
Yeah. Like I've talked to other coaches too at one point, coaches I've worked with, and they were like, even told me like, you're kind of easy to coach because you actually do the work. Because I've had other clients that they don't take any action or do any of the things we suggest, like we talk about to go do for the week. And it's like, if you don't do any of this stuff, how can I help you?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to sit here and be like, we're going to be in the same spot week after week after week until you take action to do something and fail. Probably you're going to fail at it. And then we're going to figure a way to kind of correct things and adjust and move forward.
And that's a good point, because the people I'm looking to coach are people with a mission that is inspiring.
Yeah.
Somebody that has like the point of, I have a free discovery coaching call where we get to know each other. And the point of that is I'm vetting you and you're vetting me. I'm seeing like, are we going to be a good fit? Do you actually have a mission that you're looking to achieve in your life? And do I actually believe that I can help? Because do I actually believe I can help you get there? Because I'm not the best fit for every single person in the world. Every person with a big goal, I'm not going to be the best fit, but I might know somebody who is. And if I get the impression that that's going to be the result that you just said, if I get the impression that there might not be follow through, that they seem a little wishy-washy, there's like not a accountability there. I'm not like, that would be a harder sell for me. I would have like that. Like I think there's I believe in not just knowing your niche, but knowing who you want to serve as a business owner and protecting that. So like, even if, but I do like if you're in that relationship already, if you're in that coaching relationship already and the person's not following through, I think the point is reminding that client like what they signed up for. Remind them of the money that they're spending. Remind them that like, if this isn't for you, let's talk about what that means. Let's talk about whether we should move forward or not. Because I shouldn't get paid if you're not going to improve. If like, regardless of what that means.
Yeah, because if not, you're just wasting each other's time.
Right.
Yeah, I get you on all that. I mean, I've worked with clients before, and like, this isn't working because your vision and my vision, I can give you all the tools, but if you're not putting any of them into action, it's not really going to help. And it's just, you're wasting your finances and my time, and my time is a little bit more valuable than some of the finances you're providing. Like, if we're not going to go achieve something.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you on knowing who you want to serve and wanting to work with people who are mission driven.
Yeah.
So you talked about joining the Maxwell leadership team. So you're a fellow Maxwell guy like myself, and this is how we kind of met. Why did you join? Why did you decide the Maxwell team is for me?
Yeah, that's a great question. I joined because I wanted something more. I joined because I already knew I wanted to be a coach, but it's funny. I knew I wanted to be a coach before I knew what being a coach meant.
Yeah.
I just knew that like that was something that I was being called to do. And backstory: I had a Tony Robbins coach for 3 months. For 3 months, I forget. It's either 3 or 6 months. And it's been a while. It was a few years ago. I had a Tony Robbins coach, and he pushed me, and it was great. But I got to a point of burnout, and I literally stopped everything. I stopped the coaching. I stopped pursuing business because I was burnt out, and I wasn't managing my time well, and I was overwhelmed. And it took a few years for that essentially that calling to come back around, for me to realize like this is still something I really want to do. And I saw that Maxwell had a coaching program. That John Maxwell had his own coaching program. I was already reading his books and listening to the leadership podcast that they have. And I heard that they had a coaching program. So I looked that up, and it sounded like exactly what I was looking for. And when I got onto the onboarding, well, not the onboarding call, but there's a initial call that you do where you get to get the information, you're like, how much will it cost and things like that. But like I used that call. I wrote myself a note that said, I'm not paying today. And I was like, and I put that in front of me because I've been burned before. And so I was like taking precautions. And I forget what her name was, but I talked with her, and she gave me all the information. Again, like I said, it sounded exactly what I wanted. But I knew in my personal integrity with my finances, I was not going to pay for it up front, because it was more money than I could put aside with all the other financial things that I had going on, and including my condition. And so I was like, I'm going to do what I need to do in order to save up the money to pay for this program so I can get this certification, get this training, and be the coach that I know I'm meant to be. And I was like, I'm not a payment plan person. And a big reason why I signed up, again, I said it was exactly what I was looking for, because I already knew that every lesson that John Maxwell teaches is based on the foundation of Scripture. And he has his a Bible that I had that's called the Maxwell Leadership Bible, and I had that. I knew that all the lessons he taught were out of that. So I knew that whenever I was joining this group, even though it's not a Christian group per se, it's not a Christian organization, all of the things that are being taught, and the core lessons of leadership, of why you coach the way that you do, and everything like that. You can, once you break it down, you get to that foundation of where these principles come from. It comes from Scripture, and I knew that going in. So, yeah, I'd say I joined because I wanted more. I wanted to learn how to be a coach, and it was, and it aligned with my faith.
Nice. What's the biggest takeaway you've gotten from the program? Like probably your favorite part, I'd say.
The community. Like having conversations like this right now, not just because it's on a podcast, but like I've made some great friends of people who are like, one guy, his name is Paul Emery, who I had on my podcast in the past. And we met at the March IMC, the International Maxwell Conference, and back in early 2025. And we've stayed in contact since. We did peer coaching with each other. We have had conversations about like what he wants to do with his life, like some things that he's looking to do with his own framework that he's built out over the years that he's been doing leadership in his organization. And I get to grow from that, and then I get to hop on like the calls that we have on Saturdays and get to learn from other people, and get to be surrounded by others who are focused on building up, on developing themselves so they can develop others. Like one of the best values, I think, in my opinion, one of the best values that the Maxwell community has is being people of value who value others. Like I believe every single person on this planet was created in order to serve other people. And that is like one of the core foundational principles of the Maxwell community, is that we are people of value who value other people.
Yeah, that's well said right there. Like, I know personally, like, I love the community. Like, look, I met you on there through there. I still have not been to an IMC live, a live IMC yet. I do want to make it there at one point here, probably here next year, hopefully. But like, I've met other coaches and everything and talked with them. I even had one as a coach there for a little bit. I mean, like, great people. The community is amazing.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the first call I was ever on, it was I think it's an onboarding call with a bunch of different other Maxwell people. There's a facilitator. The first time I was ever on a call, I immediately after that call, or even during the call, I knew that my money was well spent.
Yeah.
And because I think his name's Michael Martin, and I thought I was just going to hop on a call, I was going to listen to some stuff, and like that was going to be that. And this Zoom call, I have my camera on, it's like set to the side I was like at my computer, I have my phone kind of propped up, and I came in a little late, and Michael goes, "Thomas, you're a little late. Why didn't you tell us about yourself?" I'm like, "Oh." I wasn't expecting to talk during this conversation. I wouldn't talk during this like call. I thought it was like more of a presentation, and like he coached me right there on the spot, and I was like, that was the first thing I experienced, and I was like, okay, these are my people.
Yeah, I love how everybody's looking to grow themselves, add value to everybody else. I mean, and that's almost every single person in there.
Yeah.
Like if you were to say like to somebody looking to become a leader or a coach or something, how important would you tell them that growing yourself and personal improvement and self-development is to helping others or to rise in your leadership abilities?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. So if you can't expect others to improve if you're not improving yourself. I think John Maxwell has a principle, I believe it's in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and that book, I believe, there is the law of the lid.
But that's in quite a few of his books.
Yeah, I know, like, they overlap a little bit, but like it's the law of the lid, and law of the lid, or like there's a law of something else, but there's like if you're not raising the lid on yourself, if you're not raising your ceiling, essentially, like, and you're calling other people who like are underneath you in like the hierarchy, if you want to say, or like they're not going to reach your level, but you're not, if you're at it, like I think Maxwell puts it like this, like if you're at a 9, then people underneath of you are going to get to an 8, but if you're at a 6, they're only going to get to a 5 out of 10. Like they're gonna, like, if the higher you go, the higher you can bring the people with you.
Yeah, and that's the people you attract to. You can't attract anybody that's with you or below you, right, or above you. You can only attract people below you because they can't raise above you.
Yeah,
for that lid you have. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting principle when I read it. I was like, well, that is true, because if you can't lead yourself, who are you going to get to follow you?
Right. I think the funniest thing I think I've read from him that popped in my head is, if you're leading and nobody's following you, you're just taking a walk.
Yeah. Kind of interesting when you put it that way, isn't it?
Yep.
You host the Pursuit of Calling podcast.
Yep.
What inspired you to start podcasting and to start chasing that dream down?
Sure. Quick synopsis. My first podcast was called Technically Short. It was a podcast I started for fun with a friend. And my name's Thomas Edward Carney. That's where the TEC and technically came from. And Short, his name's Sean Short. We started that, did that for about a year. And we did a series towards the middle or like close to the middle end-ish time of that podcast. It was we did a series called Why Are You Here? And we didn't have an end date to this series. We just kept going. And we invited people on from our church. We would ask, like, who do you think we should have on the podcast after you? And we just kept going through people. And we had, like, I think it was 10 or 11 episodes that we did on this topic. And at the end, I didn't want to talk about anything else. He wanted to move on, but I didn't want to do anything else. And when he went to the Army, he was like, Thomas, you can do whatever you want with this. He knew he was going to have the time. He was going to basic. And he's like, you can rebrand it. You can do whatever. You can take it to your business, whatever you want to do. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was like, why are you here? That was the basis of the Pursuit of Calling. So whenever I rebranded to the Pursuit of Calling, I picked that name because I wanted to help people pursue and answer that question, why are you here? The reason I keep podcasting is because I love it. I love being able to, one, it's a great thing for myself to be able to, on a selfish note, for myself to be able to grow in the skill of teaching and guiding others how to live the life that God's calling them to live. I have a phrase that I like to use to say what my calling is. And I think this is great for other people to do as well. In one sentence, my calling is to provide others with the tools needed to successfully discover and pursue their God-given calling. And so that's the basis around the podcast. That's the basis around my coaching. And that's a lens that I aim to see my life through. So it's like, I believe that everybody has a lens that they're seeing their life through. Like I believe that lens, like your calling goes with you everywhere you go. I know I'm getting a little off topic of the podcast. I will get back to it. But your calling goes with you everywhere that you go. It's not just one thing. I like there's semantics. Some people like you're called to do a thing. I'm like, yes, but I believe the calling that we have on our life is an all-encompassing lens that we see our life through. If I say my calling is to provide people the tools needed to successfully discover and pursue their God-given calling, there's more than one way I can do that. So the goal of the podcast is to help you understand and realize how you live in your calling well, and what are the things in your life that you can do in order to live in your calling well and with excellence. Yeah, that's the basis. That's the basis.
I like it. I mean, I think you kind of touch on it. A lot of people do not understand that they were put on this earth for a reason.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. I mean, and it's kind of horrible to sit there and ask yourself, why was I put here? What am I meant for? Because we're meant for so much more than just to go to work and sit there and watch TV, go out drinking or partying. You know, we were created for so much more.
Yeah. And that's like, I had some merch for a little bit. I don't have it up right now, but so this isn't a plug. But I had merch around exactly what you just said. On the back, on the front, it said, pursue your purpose. On the back, it says, you are made for more. And because I honestly believe that people are made for more than their circumstances that they live in. They're made for more than whatever they're doing right now. We're all made for more. Like, I'm made for more than what I'm doing right now. You're like, Ryan, you're made for more. You're made to do more than you can ever think or imagine, because that's the God that we have. That's the God that we serve. where we're called higher every day of our lives. So I believe, one, getting back to the personal development piece, like the goal of personal development is to be better tomorrow than you were today, and be better today than you were yesterday, and just keep building on that. Yeah.
Nice. What would you say is probably the biggest challenge you face podcasting?
Podcasting. The biggest challenge I have faced in podcasting. Keeping consistent, and while at the same time providing value. I think that is the biggest struggle. I believe in quality. So but I also believe you start from somewhere. I'm a perfection. I think I'm a recovering perfectionist. So the biggest struggle is continuously providing value that is going to benefit other people's lives, even though that sounds like that's exactly what the podcast is for. But like the biggest struggle is like getting it with that. I get in my own head.
Well, what's probably the most rewarding part for you?
For sure. Most rewarding part is whenever I hear people that have listened to the podcast and I get to hear their responses, and I get like, one of the people that I coached was that same person I mentioned before. I reached out to her about coaching, and she messaged me back and said, "Well, I've been listening to the podcast, and I was going to sign up anyway." And I was like, "Man, that actually means maybe this is working. This is working, not in like the business sense, but this is working as in like I'm not doing a bad job." Because a lot of the times with podcasting and any content creation, you don't always get feedback. You don't always get direct feedback.
No, you don't.
Yeah, it is like, it feels like it's one of those, like, it could seem like very unrewarding, but then you're like, but I have to think through the lens of, even if one person hears this episode today, even if one person is impacted, that's enough. Even though I would love it for it to be more, but even if one person's life is changed for the better forever, then that is what that was meant for. That's who that was meant for. So I'm like, I'm here to serve. And I'll do what I'll serve. My goal is to be able to serve whoever God puts in front of me, whether that be somebody I've met or somebody that listens to my podcast, whatever. But yeah, like, but whenever you do get that feedback, and you're like, it's such a fulfilling feeling whenever people give you that feedback and it's positive. I've never gotten bad feedback, but you know.
That's probably a good thing though.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So you could email me at thomas.carney@pursuitofcalling.com. You could, but then I also have a website at coaching.pursuitofcalling.com. And on that website, it gives you pretty much a quick overview of what I do and why I do it. It kind of, some of the stuff I've talked about, what I talked about here, I have some testimonies on there. And the best way to, if you want to get a conversation with me on that same website, there is a scheduling link to schedule your free discovery call. So I would say you can reach out to me, email, sign up for a call. You can find me on Instagram at thomascarney.7. That's my personal account. You can message me, and Thomas Carney on Facebook.
Yeah, and I'll post all that in the show notes too for anybody to get a hold of you too.
Awesome.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
Yes, actually. This is a kind of out of left field, so I apologize. But it's along the same lines of why I do all the things that I do. I'm going on a mission trip in March, and I'm going to Uganda for about 10 days. And just a quick synopsis, we're going to spread the love of Jesus Christ to the people of Uganda and to the communities that the church I attend to, that we support directly, that we sponsor directly. And my goal is to bring my calling there. I've been there once before, early this year. We're going next year, and hopefully I'll go the year next in 2027 as well. And if you would like to know more about that, there's a website for that as well, uganda.pursuitofcalling.com. I always feel weird about asking for donations, but that's a real thing. That's a real ask. But I know we're getting towards the end of the time that we have here today, so I can't tell you everything, but if you want to know more, that website literally has uganda.pursuitofcalling.com literally has everything. That why I'm going, why I'm doing it. It gives you a quick synopsis of who Compassion International is, because we partner with Compassion International in order to do these trips, and who Amplify Church is. That's my church. Like, it gives you everything you could possibly want to know. If you do want to know more, you got my email. So
awesome. Yeah, and I'll put that in the show notes too as well.
Fantastic.
All right. Final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity? Two things. So you said one, but if you don't know who Jesus is, get to know him. Because it's so hard to do that it's so hard to overcome circumstances that are outside of your control if you don't know the God of the universe, who has a purpose for everything in your life. Because it's coming from someone who suffers with chronic pain every day. If you don't know who Jesus is, get to know him. And the second thing is, once you find out who Jesus is, ask him to reveal your calling. Ask him to help you discover what you were made for. And that can be what people tell you you're good at. That can be what comes to you naturally, the gifts that he's given you. But there's two steps to that. It's find Jesus. Get curious about who he is, and pursue your calling. That's what I'd say. Great advice right there. Thomas, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your story with us and showing us why you do what you do.
No, Ryan, this is so much fun. I love having these conversations. So yeah, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Not a problem. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.
All right. Bye, guys.